Listen, if we even think you owe us money, you won't know what hit you. We'll put liens on everything you own. Raid your bank accounts, retirement fund, pension. You'll open up your paycheck and cry because we'll already have the money. We'll haul you into federal court and you might even go to jail. Hey, it's our job.
Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. Our experts will fight for you using IRS guidelines to stop any IRS actions like bank levies or wage garnishments. Plus, eliminate penalties and interest and reduce your past tax bill so you pay the IRS less. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
I'd have my mom call the number on the screen. You come see me alone. We'll work it out. Really, we will.
Hey, AMP News Patriots, join us in saluting the unwavering heroes who rush towards danger and are always there when you need them. Presenting the First Responder 911 Foundation Challenge Coin, masterfully crafted by our artisans to pay tribute to our heroes. Own this beautiful memento of our gratitude for your support while celebrating their courage and their dedication. For only $29, you can support those who serve and protect. Secure your challenge coin today at firstresponder911.org. Order yours now.
Did you know that thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing? If you've written a book, Page Publishing can help you through the process. We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, we get you printed, distributed, and sold on Amazon, Apple iTunes, and in bookstores across the country. We'll even help you promote your book. That's right, we do all this for you. Biography, self-help, mystery, novels, sci-fi, even a children's book. No matter what genre, Page Publishing can bring your book to life. Call today for your free author submission kit and find out how you can be the next published author at Page Publishing.
Call for your free author submission kit at 855-993-2114. That's 855-993-2114.
Well, welcome to the Schaftlein Report. As you can see again, I am not Mark Schaftlein. This is Drew Thomas Allen, your Millennial Minister of Truth, filling in. There's breaking news right before I got on here, as a matter of fact. Peter Navarro has been sentenced to 4 months in prison. And this is going to tie into what's happening in the border and really what I want to get into in this show, which is about a federal government that is unaccountable, that is power hungry, that is beyond its constitutional limits, and is lawless. We have a criminal federal government, a criminal Biden administration, and an American people that are starting to change their mentality for the better, which is to resume the thinking of the founding fathers, which dictates, of course, that we the people are master and those in government are the servants. So the days of government unaccountability, terrorizing the citizens of this country are hopefully numbered and coming to an end. And, really 2024, I'm telling you right now, it is the new 1776. I mean, that we have come full circle as a nation. That which the founding fathers greatly feared, it's here right now, and we're dealing with it. And that's being represented at the border with the battle between Texas and the federal government right now. But, Peter Navarro, this is one of those things that really has an effect on me, and I'll tell you why. So I am a publicist when I'm not. I'm still a publicist, actually, at this moment, ignoring phone calls and emails and whatever else, emergencies. But anyway, Peter Navarro has been a client of mine at Publius PR. And so I am not, best buddies with Peter, but I know Peter. And I was in Washington, D.C. for another client's book event, and Peter Navarro was there. He was in the room. And after that event, a couple days passed. I got back on a flight to head back home to California, where I live. And I looked down and I saw that Peter Navarro was being put in leg shackles on an airplane and arrested. And so for me, a lot of people, I think, see this type of news. That could never happen to me, whatever. We kind of have this apathy going on, which is a problem in this nation we need to address. We need to care very deeply about what's going on and get involved and start having some emotional response to the tyranny we're experiencing. But to be in a room with somebody one day and the next to see them hauled off in leg irons by a corrupt federal government and FBI stings you a little bit more because it's a little bit closer to home. And this whole thing's a joke. They're using Peter Navarro as a lesson, a threat to the American people. That's what all this is about. Remember, Joe Biden, and this is another thing that I don't think affects Americans enough, Joe Biden has repeatedly, even recently, reiterated his threat against the American people when he suggests, for example, you want to come for the federal government? I'm paraphrasing. You better have F-15s, F-16s, and nuclear weapons because you can't beat us. Now imagine the audacity of a president of the United States telling these citizens, mocking us basically. Because as a matter of fact, let's do this. I'm going out of order. Drake, my friend, he's a pro. He'll roll with it. I want you to actually pull up photo one. And I want to start this episode that's going to fly by the fastest 30 minutes you've ever watched and heard. I want to start with the Declaration of Independence. Go ahead and pull it up if you can, Drake. So you have it on the screen. And I just want to read a little section for you. You know, we, of course, hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from, this is important, folks, the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. All right, pull it down, Drake. Never forget those words, because the reality is, and I'm not being incendiary here, I'm not calling for violence, so don't go there with me. But what I am telling you is we live in perpetual fear of the federal government, what they will do to us, because we have agreed to this bastardization of our relationship, that they are all powerful and unaccountable, and we have no rights. So we live in fear of the taxman, we live in fear of the FBI, we live in fear of being shut down, we live in fear of cancel culture. We're on our tiptoes, walking on eggshells around this government, not even speaking the truth. The things I'm saying right now, people would be fearful to say on certain shows for being canceled, for example. And yet the government should fear us. We should not fear the government. That's the reality. And when Joe Biden tells the American people, ha, 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 yeah, Jefferson said, every now and then, the blood of patriots and whatever else to, blah, blah, blah. Well, you better get some F-16s and nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, he tells us, by the way, we don't need AR-15s. We don't need those. You can hunt with a knife and a pistol and a bow and arrow. That's not why we have a Second Amendment right. The reason we have a Second Amendment right is what you're experiencing right now today under this government. So I want to go ahead. This is no surprise what's happening at the border. I want you to cue up cut one, Drake. This is Joe Biden in 2019 before he was the nominee for the Democrat Party for president, of course, in 2020. But this is Joe Biden talking about his feelings about immigration. Play this cut.
We could afford to take in a heartbeat another 2 million people. The idea that a country of 330 million people cannot absorb people who are in desperate need and who are justifiably fleeing oppression is absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. I would also move to increase the total number of immigrants able to come to the United States.
Well, there you have it. So it should be no surprise to anyone that Joe Biden is intentionally sabotaging our border. And by the way, what's happening is treason. I don't throw that word around lightly. I mean it sincerely, and you better contemplate it too. Treason is what is happening. And yet there's no accountability, right? Now, Texas, if you want to talk about what's going on down there, this is a culmination of all of the problems in America, which is the federal abuse of the American citizen, the federal abuse of their power. In fact, taking power that they don't actually even have. And Governor Abbott has an opportunity here. I call it a Martin Luther King Jr. moment. Because the civil rights movement, of course, was the culmination, a reaction to just, well, a history of abusing black people by Southern Democrats in this country. And it came to a standstill with the sit-ins at restaurants and the abuse of blacks with the fire hoses and so on and so forth. And what we're experiencing today is not dissimilar to the civil rights movement, except that this new civil rights movement that we are part of right now in American history includes all Americans, even if you're a Democrat. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. This affects all of us. And this is about a totalitarian government that is abusing the American citizen. And so the culmination of this is happening now at the border in Texas. You have a federal government that is not only sabotaging, well, you have a federal government that's not only not doing its job, its constitutional duty to secure the border, it's directly committing treason by facilitating an illegal invasion at the border. And the government's job at federal level is to protect and secure the border, national security. They're not doing it. Again, treason. And so you have Governor Abbott, who is stepping up. He's a border state. Millions and millions have poured across the Texas border, and he's put up his own barriers. He's trying to secure the border of his state to protect not only his population, the citizens of Texas, but also the rest of the country, doing the job that the federal government refuses to do. And now you have the federal government sending in their own federal agents to sabotage his efforts to secure the border. I mean, this is a powder keg situation down there. And Abbott needs to hold his ground. We as American people need to voice our support for him because this is the civil rights movement of our time. This is about telling this federal government, F you, here's two middle fingers, you pieces of crap. We're sick and tired of what you've done to the J6 prisoners with taxation, with the FBI showing up and killing unarmed civilians in their homes and there being no repercussions, with you going and illegally spying on the campaign manager of the Trump campaign, getting FISA warrants by lying, abusing your power like this that you don't have and there being no repercussions. Well, now you have Abbott and a massive state, Texas, that has a little bit more power than the individual citizen to sit there and answer for all of us. And this is really a precursor to 2024. 2024 is an election, of course, about reclaiming this country, about also sending a message to those tyrants in Washington, D.C. that says, screw you, this is our accountability. This is us telling you to pound sand. We're sending in a president to demolish you, to demolish your seized authority, to hollow you out like you were intended to be. And this is the same situation. And this has to happen. We need to back up Abbott, and he needs to hold strong. This is Abbott's chance to be the face of freedom in America, the face of the founding principles. Now, it's just he happens to be the one on watch. And this is his chance to do that. So he can be a hero, and so far he is. I'm not attacking him. Or he can be a loser in history. These are the stakes down there. We're going to take a short break in just a minute here, but first, I want to play cut 5. I want you to hear how the Democrats, because I have a message to Republicans to help you out, because only Republicans could botch this opportunity, and not just an opportunity, but doing the right thing here would actually be victorious for them and help them in 2024. But of course, the Republicans hate this country, many of them as well, the rhinos, and I want you to hear Mitt Romney. What he's talking about, trying to blame Trump now for the border. Go ahead and play this cut.
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump. And the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality is that we have a crisis at the border. The American people are suffering as a result of what's happening at the border. And someone running for president ought to try and get the problem solved, as opposed to saying, "Hey, save that problem. Don't solve it. Let me take credit for solving it later."
Now, he's a filthy rat, you-know-what, liar. That's not what's going on. You see, the Republicans in the Senate, Mitt Romney being one of them, they were prepared to cut this secret deal with the Democrats to give them a fake victory. The border solution that has been proposed by the Mitt Romneys and the Democrats that they want to sign hurriedly, it's like the Inflation Reduction Act. They can call it a border bill all day long, but it has nothing to do with securing the border. In fact, it has the opposite impact. Not only does it give funding to Ukraine, but it basically doesn't affect the border situation at all. And when they talk about solving the border from the Democrats' mouth and Mitt Romney's mouth, I've been through this 100 times. I don't know on here, but on my own show, certainly, what they want funding for, you see, the problem for the Biden administration is not that they don't have funding to secure the border. It's that they don't have enough funding to let in more illegal immigrants. They want to process them faster. You see, there aren't enough illegals coming across the border for the Biden administration. That's the reality. But I'm going to take a short break here. We're going to get into this a little bit more, and we're going to talk about what to expect over the next year with unprecedented levels of propaganda in this country. All right, we'll be right back after this break.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like,
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long.
When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
Just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
All right, and we're back. So look, obviously this 2024 campaign, one of the most significant issues that hurts the Democrats is the immigration issue. And this is predictable. The Democrats always do this. They're trying to frame things up, use the media to blame Trump for it, to make themselves look good. And the Republicans need to impeach Mayorkas. They claim they have the votes. Why aren't they doing it? If the Republicans will not prove and demonstrate to the American people that they are serious about actually securing the border, even if they don't have a majority in the Senate to get any legislation passed, they are going to get blamed for this. And you already heard how they're trying to do it now. Trump doesn't support this bill. Yes, because the only bill that should be approved by Republicans is a bill that simply does one thing: shuts down illegal immigration, period. That's what the American people deserve. And so I just don't know. I mean, these Republicans, the problem is it's not that they're just stupid. It's that they're evil, like Mitt Romney there. He'd rather blame Trump for this and help the Democrats turn this into a winning election issue for themselves. Go ahead and cue up cut 4. I mean, this is just unbelievable. This is happening right now. This is John Kirby with Martha McCallum. She asked him straight up, do we have a border? Listen to his response.
Do we have a what?
Do we have a southern border?
Yes, ma'am. Of course we do.
Then how come people can flow across it every single day? Hundreds and thousands of people over the course, 300,000 people in December.
We're working very hard to try to fix that, Martha. That's why we need congressional action. That's why the president asked for additional funding, more, $6 billion in the supplemental to try to get border security enhanced. I mean, I think you and I are obviously not going to see the policy solutions the same way, and I respect that.
Well, I'm just looking for results. I'm saying if you're concerned about the number of people crossing, you're not getting results. So at some point you have to say, we got to do something different.
Well, the idea that we haven't looked at this and tried to work on this and trying to work in concert with Congress is just not true. We are. This is a complicated issue, and it's going to require a real team approach, not just from the executive branch, but from the legislative branch as well.
So they passed the buck. There's no accountability. No, Congress needs to do something. It's not the president's role. It's Congress's role. And now Congress, the Democrats, are trying to put forward legislation that's called like the Inflation Reduction Act, which has nothing to do with reducing inflation. Here's a border bill. Republicans oppose it. Trump opposes it. And if the Republicans don't propose their own legislation, if they don't impeach Mayorkas and actually get serious about this, it doesn't matter. The media is going to do what it does. And unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, the American people, many of them, are gullible fools. They will believe this, despite what's happened over the last several years. But you better get ready for some unprecedented propaganda. Nothing that is happening that you're witnessing with your own eyes is real. You're supposed to believe this garbage from the left. I want to play this cut of Morning Joe. Here's what to expect over the next, X amount of months that's going to drive you mad. And then I'm going to follow up. I've got a clip of me on GB News. I'll tell you more about that. How I just ripped the face of a British propagandist off his face on live television. But go ahead and play cut 2. Go.
If you're out there going, oh, they're just after Donald Trump, why can't we talk about policies? All right, well, let's talk about the policies that the dictator wannabe wants to do. Trump wants, and Republicans that you're running against are going along with Trump. They want to wreck the economy, and they want to keep the border open.
And yay, we overturned Roe.
Does that? Oh, yeah. They want to keep That's that right away. 3. And number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4. They want to reelect a guy who wanted to destroy economy. Oh, and hey, wait, there's more, Mika.
There's always more.
They have promised they want to take away your health care. These are all things they said.
This is the type of crap we have to deal with on our side. Now, they're unopposed because it's the Morning Joe propaganda show, and unfortunately, Drew Allen isn't there to rip Joe's face off. But this is a long clip. It's a little over 3 minutes, but I want you to hear me get into it with somebody on GB News, with my buddy Mark Dolan, the host. I call him, he's like the British Tucker Carlson. GB News is what Fox News used to be, but in the UK. Everyone hates them because they have people like me on. Go ahead and play cut 3. Go.
He is an Anglophile, and he spoke of a trade deal with America and the US. So do you think a Trump White House would be in the British national interest?
No, I don't think it would be in the British interest at all, or indeed the world interest. For a start, he says he'll settle the Ukraine war in 24 hours. Well, I don't think he will, but he'll certainly, I think, be far less supportive of Ukraine, which is likely to greatly increase the chances of the Russian victory and the threat that then poses to the rest of Eastern Europe. And, of course, he's not a great fan of NATO. Now, I actually agree that the rest of NATO should increase its contributions. I do agree with Trump on that. But his lack of commitment to NATO is another worrying thing at a time when the world is increasingly run by nasty tyrants, and Trump loves these tyrants and schmoozes up to them and admires them and so on. And the third thing that I think is worrying is, Donald Trump has basically defecated on the US Constitution. The idea of the rule of law, the democracy and all of that severely undermined the authority of what is, the greatest democracy hitherto in the world. And it's toppling right now. And if Trump wins, I think it could be fatal.
OK, well,
US democracy.
I'm not sure I fully agree, Drew Allen, with Michael Crick there, because, of course, 4 years as president, Donald Trump didn't start a single war.
Well, that was all really good propaganda. I've heard it everywhere from CNN and everyone else who has been lying to basically everyone for years and years and years. The amazing thing that we can look at is we actually lived, all of us, under a Trump presidency and a Biden presidency. And if you just ask yourself one simple question, that Reagan question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? If you ask yourself, were you better under Trump or Biden? Well, it's amazing because by zero metric, not a single metric you can name, even lying like you just did. Can you suggest that things are better under Biden? We didn't have a war in Russia and Ukraine. We didn't have the possibility of a third world war or this unrest in the Middle East. We had a secure border in the United States of America. So despite the propaganda and the lies, it's actually the left that's defecating on our Constitution. And we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. And the people are fed up with this. And what the Democrats and the establishment are trying to do, it's not just about GOP and Democrat Party. It's about a bunch of elites who have defecated on the Constitution long ago to seize power from the American people, who believe that this government, right? Remember, we went to war, by the way, King George III, you know him, over a lot of this. And our Constitution says we, the people, are the master, and those in government are the servant. And what we have now is them defecating on our constitutional process by trying to prevent the leading GOP leader for president from running over this total baloney. And it's all in my book, so I don't have time to get into the whole thing here, but it's a lively, long debate.
Most definitely. Let me do a plug for the book. It is called America's Last Stand. Will you vote to save or destroy America in 2024? It's already got the country talking.
All right, and we're back. I just wanted to show you that because when you deal with these propagandists, it is incumbent upon you to take their propagandist talking points and tell them to shove it where the sun doesn't shine. That's the only option. Otherwise, you have Joe Scarborough spouting his predictable nonsense. But I just want to tell you something. Do not lose faith, and please do not buy this lie that Trump cannot win and that he's a weak candidate. They are scared to death that Trump is going to be reelected in 2024 because they know he can be and likely will be. And they're going to cheat and they're going to do this and that, but we have to back Trump and be optimistic. We don't need to apologize for him because the country's future depends upon his reelection. And actually, you might not believe this, but one of the latest things that shows you how scared the left is of 2024 and Trump's victory, two things. One, a story came out that Barack Hussein Obama, well, he is apparently quietly advising Joe Biden to step away, to drop out, not to run for re-election. Now, pair that with this headline, Jon Stewart returns to The Daily Show for the 2024 elections. Jon Stewart's been gone for a while, but Jon Stewart historically was a very influential person on the left. I'll tell you, everyone I knew that was a Democrat back when they used to talk to me, they got their news from Jon Stewart. He was their God, and he gave them their talking points. And so they are so scared right now that they are getting Jon Stewart out of his grave and putting him back on The Daily Show, where he hasn't been for years and years and years. And he's going to be, they say, Stewart was given the Monday slot because Mondays are the most watched day for the show during the week. So they need Jon Stewart. Every weapon at their disposal, they are dragging up from the dead and resurrecting because they're so desperate. And they acknowledge that the comedy talk show landscape is much different than when Stewart headlined the show. Late night comedy shows are generally struggling with revenue and ratings. Well, gee, I wonder why. That's because you guys aren't flipping funny anymore. You guys are liars, and the American people are tuning you out and listening to people like me. So in closing, look, this border showdown is hugely important for the American people, and I am begging you, Governor Abbott, as somebody who, when I was in middle school, I was a member of the Junior Honor Society, and Abbott, who was back then, I forgot what his position was in government, but he came and spoke to my small class at my private school. So I remember him from that moment. Anyway, I'm just urging you, this is a war that the American people are on your side for. We need you to be a hero right now. We stand behind you, and let's make history here. And this is the civil rights movement of our time, and let's be MLK Jr., not some schlub that's not remembered. This is Drew Allen. It's been the fastest 30 minutes, and until next time.
Banks are supposed to be the safest placeholders for cash in the world, but in 2022 that changed. The Federal Reserve pulled out $2.5 trillion of liquidity out of the banks, and the Fed also changed the requirements so banks don't need to keep any funds on hand. This means banks are starved for liquidity and have now become very dangerous places to hold your assets. Get out of the system. with the world's safest and most private assets, silver and gold. Call Kirk Elliott, PhD at 877-547-5743. That's 877-KIRK-PhD.